Hello and welcome. In this video, we will learn the concept of decorators. Alright. Now, let me take an example. Let us say that I have a pizza, a plain pizza or a normal pizza. Alright. So here I will say pizza, and inside this pizza function I will print normal pizza. Alright. Now when I call this function and when I run this, I get the output as normal pizza. Okay. Now let us say that I like to have ketchup on my pizza. Okay. To do that, I can go inside this function and I can use another print statement and I can say added ketchup on. Okay. So now when I run this, I get added ketchup on normal pizza as the output. Alright. Now, this is fine if I have a simple program like this. Okay. Now, what if I have samosas, French fries, and sandwich too? And what if I want ketchup on all these? Then I would have to manually add this line to all the functions. Function of samosa, function of French fries, and function of sandwich. Right? So instead of always adding ketchup inside the function like this, we can use a decorator to add ketchup automatically on any food item that I want. Alright. So let me show you how to do that. Here I will say def and then I will say ketchup. Okay. This function takes another function as an argument. Alright. For the time being, let us call it as func. Okay. And inside this, we will have one more function by the name wrapper. Okay. And inside this function, I will cut this line and paste here. Okay. And then we will call this function. Okay. And then finally, we will return wrapper. Okay. Up until this point, we were returning only values. Right? Now, we will return function. Which function? This function. Okay. So this here is our pizza function. Alright. And this here is our decorator. Okay. Now, if I don't want ketchup on my pizza, then I can just call the function like this. So when I run this, I get normal pizza as the output. There is no ketchup on this pizza. Right? So right now, there is no use of this function. Alright. But if I want ketchup on my pizza, then I will have to use this decorator. Okay. So this is called as a decorator. Alright. So to use the decorator, right before the base function, we need to type the @ symbol and then type in the name of the decorator. Okay, so this is decorator function, and the name of the decorator is ketchup, and that is what I have typed here. And where should we type it? We have to type it before the base function definition. Okay, so this is called as a base function, and right before its definition we need to use the decorator. All right, so now when I run this program, I will get added ketchup on normal pizza as the output. All right, now what happened here? Let us try to analyze. When we call this function, Python notices that there is a decorator above the function definition of the function that we called. Okay, and then what it does is it calls this function ketchup. Okay, it calls this function ketchup and then passes pizza function to this. Okay, it passes pizza function to this. So here too it will be pizza. All right, and then what this decorator does is it returns this function wrapper. It returns this function wrapper here. So when we are calling pizza function, we are actually calling the wrapper function. All right, we are calling the pizza function, but in reality we are calling the wrapper function. Okay, so what is inside the wrapper function? Or what happens when we call the wrapper function? When we call the wrapper function, this line will be printed and this function will be called. And what is the result of this function call, or what is inside this function? There is only one line, which is normal pizza. So basically the result of this is this line. Okay, so in reality when we call the pizza function, we are calling the wrapper function, and when wrapper function is called, this line when wrapper function is called, this line and this line will be printed out. All right, this is because this decorator returns the wrapper function here. All right, so let me change this back to func and change this back to func. Okay, now if this was difficult for you to understand, I have an analogy for you. Now this here is a chocolate and this is equal to our pizza function. Okay, so this is our pizza function, and this here is a wrapper, and this wrapper is equal to our wrapper function. All right, and when we call this function, what happens is this chocolate gets wrapped in this wrapper and the result will be this. So this pizza function gets wrapped in this wrapper function, and in reality when we call the pizza function, we are actually calling the wrapper function. So when the wrapper function gets called, this line will be executed and the pizza function will be called. Inside our pizza function we have only this line, and so this will be executed, and so the result will be added ketchup on normal pizza. All right, Yes. So this is how we use a decorator. Alright. Now what is the decorator? Decorator is a function that takes in another function as an argument. Okay. Inside the decorator function, there will be one more function by the name wrapper. Now what is the function of this wrapper function? It is to add extra functionalities to the base function without modifying it. So here if you see, this is the base function and this base function is not modified. Without modifying this base function, the wrapper function is adding this functionality or this feature to it. Alright. Now, let me copy this and paste it here. I will change this ketchup to cheese. And here I will say added extra cheese on. Okay. Now if I want extra cheese on my pizza, then I need to use the cheese decorator. Okay. So when I call this, I get the output as added extra cheese on, added ketchup on, normal pizza. Alright. Now you may have a doubt here. You may ask, why is that normal pizza is printed only once even though we have used two decorators? The answer to this is, first, the ketchup decorator wraps the pizza function and then the cheese decorator wraps the result of the ketchup decorator and then it prints it out. Okay. To understand this better, let me go to my analogy. Now this here is a chocolate wrapped with a wrapper. Now imagine that there is one more wrapper like this and we are wrapping this with one more wrapper. Okay. And when we do that, what we have is one chocolate and two wrappers. Inside, what we have is our chocolate, the pizza function. Wrapping the pizza function is the first wrapper, which is the ketchup decorator. And wrapping the first wrapper is the second wrapper, which is our cheese decorator. Okay. So the chocolate is 1 and the wrappers are 2. The base function is 1 and the decorators are 2. Alright. So we can have multiple functions like this. So let me paste this and change this to French fries. And I will say French fries. Okay. If I want only ketchup on my French fries, then I can use the ketchup decorator. So here I will say French fries, and when I call this, I get added ketchup on normal French fries. Okay. And if I want only cheese on my French fries, then I can have that too. Okay. If I want both of them, then I can have both on my French fries. Alright. So this is how decorators work. This is a decorator, this is also a decorator, and this is a base function, this is also a base function. Alright. Yes. So I hope the concept is clear. If not, please do watch the video once again.